I think the important thing is that assessment's a very large topic. I think often people in their heads think it's just to do with marking or grading, and I think it's much more than that. I would suggest that one can define it as it's about making judgments. It's about making judgments of students and their work, their abilities, their skills, their knowledge. Fundamentally, I mean, I think assessment's in a fairly sorry state, and this is a sort of international issue. It's not just a Wollongong issue, an Australian issue. It's an international problem, it's in a sorry state for a variety of reasons. I mean, I think if you put it simply, I think a lot of assessment is seen as a chore by both students and staff, something to be got through, something to be ticked off, something to be got out of the way. Neither party enjoying it en route, and in some cases, certainly from the student point of view, not seeing what the point was particularly, certainly not seeing it in terms of learning. So I think it's become a chore. I think another very sad aspect is the way it's become a sort of an economy. We've created a currency called marks. Students will only do work if we give them marks. We've conceded that, it seems to me. We've capitulated on that. So we play this game. We have to have some marks here, some marks there, because they won't do it otherwise. Even worse, we use it as a sort of behaviour modification tool. So we'll, at its worst, you get 5% if you just turn up to 9 out of 10 of the lectures, or we take marks off if you hand things in late or something. So it's become a currency, and it's got nothing to do with the learning. And I think those two things are very sad. To try and be cheerful, though, I think another reason we should care is that I think it could all be a lot more enjoyable for all parties if we changed our practices. I think if we can motivate students through the subject itself, through authentic assessment, through relevance, if we can motivate the students, if we can get them excited and enthused, the whole experience will be a lot better for all concerned. We'll have more fun with the students. The work, all the evidence is, if you've got motivated students, enthused students, the work will be better. So I think recapturing the fact that it should be about learning, and ideally it should be about enthusing students about our disciplines, or joining the profession or whatever, ought to make sort of a better life for all concerned. I think assessment is about making judgments. It's about judgments about students' abilities and so on. But within that, there are at least three purposes. The most obvious one, I guess the one that most academics probably think of, is it's about making judgments in terms of marks, what we would call in the literature summative assessment. It's about accreditation. It's about deciding whether somebody's passed a subject or not. So that's clearly a purpose, and it's important. That's what, after all, universities are partially for. So certification, accreditation, etc. But there are two other purposes equally important. Secondly, there's the purpose of formative assessment, the literature would call it. That's about giving students feedback. It's about telling them how well they're doing. You could argue it has a diagnostic quality. And that's all about helping the students with their learning. If you like, the summative, you can say, is looking backwards, whereas formative assessment should be looking forwards. What should the student do next? How can they improve? Where are the areas that they should concentrate on, etc. And then the third purpose, which I guess is less common in the literature, but I think is it is growing in recognition in terms of its importance, is what David Bowd in Australia has called sustainable assessment. What our group in the UK have tended to talk of in terms of assessment literacy. But I think we both mean pretty much the same thing, and that's about students gaining for themselves the skills of being able to make assessment judgments, being able to judge their own abilities, being able to judge the abilities of others. And clearly those are very important life skills, if you want to call them that. They fit in with notions of employability. I would argue they're pretty fundamental to being a graduate. What is it to be a graduate, to be a professional? So that's the third purpose.